This podcast is proudly sponsored by Durham Inu. Durham is a blockchain-based business with a mission to support minor league baseball players with the trading of its RBI token. These guys are professional baseball players or professional athletes, but they are underpaid and struggle to make rent, afford nutritious meals, pay for gear, support their families. They train, they perform at a high level. They're trying to make their dreams of being a big league baseball player a reality. But a lot of these players often need 2 jobs, 3 jobs during the off season, just so that they can try to keep their dream of being a baseball player alive. I've talked to guys who've been teachers in the off season, substitute teachers, construction workers. I've talked to guys who put together furniture. They've been on this show. They've told me the struggle that they go through. The mission of Durham is simple. They want to help minor league players by putting money directly into their hands so they can use it for their personal needs and focus more on the game of baseball. By allowing them to focus on baseball and what's important to them, Durham is helping to create a more sustainable pathway to success for players and supporting the entire minor and Major League Baseball ecosystem as a whole. This project works by collecting a small tax on every transaction of the crypto token. These taxes are sent to a treasury, which is used to make payments directly to the players in the form of Durham sponsorships. The amount of money in the treasury is directly dependent on the trading volume. So the more people who buy the token, the more money there is, and the value of the token will rise and allows us to support more minor league baseball players. For those who are tech savvy when it comes to the crypto world, Durham, their RBI token has a 10% buy tax, a 15% sell tax, a deflationary burn mechanism, multi-signature protection on the treasury wallet, and a liquidity lock of 100 years. To get involved with the community and support the mission, purchase RBI. Go to DurhamInu.com for the official contract if you're a baseball player, and also Uniswap buy link so that you can go on there and help support these minor leaguers. All right, I am super excited about my guest today. A baseball player in the St. Louis Cardinals organization, Evan Mendoza, drafted in the 11th round back in 2017. How's it going, Brian?
It's going really well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Like I was telling you right before we jumped on here, I'm visiting my parents in California for a week, so I am outside of Wisconsin. The weather there is not ideal. It's really hot here. I should have kind of eased into it because there's a huge difference now by 60, 70 degrees difference. But no, man, I'm loving it. Right off the bat, let's talk about this. So I saw you play yesterday. I was watching it on TV, and there was a dog in center field. And it was kind of roaming around in the behind center field, and then it was in the bullpen. Is that your guys' dog? What is that?
I actually didn't even really see that. I might have been out in in the clubhouse, going to the bathroom or something like that. I actually didn't see that. I had a family member tell me that the same exact thing, and I was like, "What dog are you guys talking about? I wasn't there. What's going on?" And I guess there was. I just didn't really notice it.
Yeah, it was. I saw it in maybe the sixth, maybe between the 6th or 7th inning. And I was like, okay, maybe this is like the clubhouse dog or something that you guys just kind of bring for
I'm not sure really.
All right, well we'll have to do some investigation work, figure that out, figure why there was a dog. It jumped into the arms of some of the bullpen guys, and they were walking around carrying it. So I was like, all right, this is maybe one of those good luck dogs, but no worries. How was your spring training? And I know you just started the season, but let's talk about your spring training. How was that, man?
Spring training went really well. I feel like I started swinging a pretty hot bat, and I got off to a good start. I hit 3 home runs in just a short period of time, so I felt like I was, getting the ball rolling, and I felt like I was productive to get into baseball shape.
Yeah.
And then just playing around some of the big names like Pujols and Yachty. It's always fun. I've been able to, share a clubhouse with Yachty and Wainwright and Arenado before. But this year is pretty special to be able to play on the same field as Albert Pujols. He was basically my idol growing up. Probably my second most favorite player of all time behind Cal Ripken. But either way, it was pretty special, and was actually able to hit a home run when they were in our dugout. So coming back into the dugout and seeing those guys congratulate me was pretty awesome.
Yeah, let's talk about that because, like you said, you're playing with Waino, Yachty, now Pujols, which is just a legend for the Cardinals. And Obviously played for the Angels and now come back for his last season. I'm assuming with staying with Wainwright and Yachty, but just being able to spend that last like spring training with them, like how incredible was that? Like, do you ever like pinch yourself and think, like I
Yeah.
just hit a home run and then got celebrated by some of these guys who are just legends?
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a memory I hopefully be able to tell my grandkids one day, and they probably are going to be like, you know, Grandpa, you're you're lying. You're
Yeah.
not. You never played with pool halls. I'm like, no, trust me, I did. Like, look at this picture or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that those are memories that I'm going to remember for forever. So I'm excited that I was able to create those.
Yeah, and hopefully, you're obviously in AAA. Hopefully, you make the majors and you can share more of those memories.
Absolutely.
Hit a couple more home runs, get a couple more celebrations with some of the guys there. So, how has the first couple of games been for you so far in the season? I mean, obviously, like you said, you got off to a hot start. You had a couple hits already. How's that been going?
Yeah. Well, yesterday was we had a day game. We unfortunately lost, but went 1 for 4 with an RBI. Played a decent shortstop. I was kind of frustrated with myself because there were two really hard plays. One was a deep fly ball that was kind of in no man's land. It was basically in between me and the center fielder, and it tipped off my glove. So I was kind of frustrated with that because I have a little rule to myself. If it hits the glove, that means I should have
Should have
caught
caught
it.
it. Yeah.
So I was frustrated that I just barely missed that one. And then there's also a ball in the deep, like 5-6 hole. And again, tipped off my glove. I wouldn't have probably been able to make any play. So it didn't count as an error or anything. But that's kind of my rule of thumb is if it hits the glove, I should be able to at least be able to catch it. So um, yeah, but overall, pretty good.
Yeah, and like, how do you? Speaking of that, like, so how do you when you make something like that? Not necessarily an error, but in your mind, like you should have caught that. Like, how do you move on from that? Like, how do you just say, okay, like it's the next play, I'm gonna get this? Like,
Yeah,
how hard mentally is that for you?
it's just having that mindset of moving on and trying to make the next play. Having short-term memory loss is a great thing in the game of baseball, but just to kind of keep that confidence that you are the player that you are helps me out as far as being on defense,
Hmm.
on making the routine play, and then trying to make the spectacular play every once in a while.
Yeah, no, for sure. So let's talk about how you got into baseball. Obviously, you were playing in Florida, a hotbed of talent. There's a lot of talent coming out of Florida. Obviously, it's different than like some states where it snows. Like it's nice all the time, right? So there's so much time to train. How was it playing in high school there with all that talent? Like, how good was your team? Like, were you guys pretty good?
Yeah. My high school team was very good. I think we had 7 or 8 guys from my graduation class actually play some sort of professional baseball. So that was obviously a large number. I think out of those 7 or 8 guys, I think like 8 or 9 of them went to go play college ball and committed to a college. So we had a great team, loaded full of talent. And it was one of the better teams that I think the high school of Sarasota High School
Hmm.
really created and generated that talent. I think we all knew that Sarasota High School, the Sailors, had the best baseball
Hmm.
program, rich in history. So we all wanted to go and attend Sarasota High, and we all kind of did. So it was a great experience to be able to play in such a baseball town with rich history. Being able to meet guys like Scooter Jeanette, Ian
Hmm.
Desmond, Casey Kelly, all those guys attended Sarasota High and had a pretty, they all have or had great careers in the big leagues.
No, absolutely. You're no for sure. And like you said, you went to a school where like all this rich history, and then you get drafted by the Cardinals. Again, another
Mhm.
organization with a ton of rich history, and we'll talk about that in a second. But at what point did you realize like you could hang with these other guys? Because obviously, like you said, it's a good school. Like at what point did you realize like I can actually make something? And you used to pitch too. So like at what point
Yeah.
did you realize like I'm pretty good?
Yeah, I'd say towards the tail end of my sophomore year of college, that's when I really started to focus on my infield and my hitting, and it all started to come together.
Mm,
And this is when I was playing against fully grown guys
mm-hmm,
who are 20 years old, 21 years old. So that's when pitching can be up to the mid to upper 90s,
mm-hmm.
and I was still able to hit pretty well and for a high average as well. So That's when I started understanding that my talent was able to take me places, and I had a strong possibility of getting drafted the following year in 2017.
Did you play any other sports in high school, or is it pretty much just
For the
baseball?
most part, it was just
Okay.
baseball. Baseball was and always has been my passion from a really young age. I played a few games of soccer. I've
Mm-hmm.
always been really athletic. I love playing basketball, volleyball, racquetball. Those are some of my favorites. I want to get into pickleball. It's really big in South Florida, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. But for the most part, really athletic as a kid. Loved playing and experimenting with different sports, and I feel like that definitely helped me to grow into an athlete.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So let's talk about then that recruiting process, because you obviously went to a good school. Like how what other schools were you interested in, and like how were like the visits in that recruiting process?
Yeah, I only went on a few visits to the schools that I was really interested in, and I kind of had a set list of the criteria that I was looking for. Number one, having a great baseball
Mm-hmm.
program, rich in history. That's obviously where my passion will always be. So I wanted that to be number one. Um, and all that comes with it, the good facilities, the good program, good coaches. It had to have a homey feeling. So those were all the things that I put into the equation. Number two priority was definitely that it had to have the major that I was interested in studying, which was aerospace engineering. Not many schools offer aerospace, and that was something that I really was determined to
Mm-hmm.
study. Um, I later found out that aerospace engineering probably wasn't for me because we had such strict classes that we had to take,
Mm-hmm.
where a mechanical engineering degree, you have a little bit more freedom with what classes you could have taken and much more fun labs and whatnot.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I kind of made a little bit of a mistake there, but either way, my mind in the recruiting process was I want a good baseball program and a good like school. I want a
Yeah.
good college as a backup plan. I've
Mm-hmm.
always kind of had that idea of having a backup plan. Not that I don't believe in myself and my baseball
Right.
abilities. I think it's just smart to always, think ahead. Baseball is
Mm-hmm.
not going to last forever. Um, so that was my mindset going into the process of getting recruited. University of Virginia, Rice, located in Houston, Texas, and then of course NC State were the three of my top choices. They all hit the checklists of what I was looking for, and then of course NC State just felt the most you know it just felt like the right decision,
Sure.
and that's what I ended up deciding with, and spent 3 years of my life in Raleigh, North Carolina, and
Yeah.
it was one of the better decisions of my life.
So what went into that decision to pick that major of all majors? Because I know like some
Uh,
guys they'll play baseball, they'll just kind of
yeah,
pick like a general major to kind of
yeah.
get in there. But like you have that's a legit like really difficult major to do.
It certainly was, and I think it helped me problem solving.
Mm.
My problem solving skills. That's one thing that I remember early on. They said aerospace engineering majors always have good problem solving skills. So that's definitely helped me out. But um, I've always loved planes. On my mom's side, there are a bunch of naval pilots. Some of them attended the Air Force Academy. A lot of them attended the Naval Academy, and that was actually a university I was thinking about
Mm.
going to, but with the service right after your
Mm-hmm.
college time, it didn't fit with baseball really. So I've always had a passion for planes, just like I had a passion um, for baseball, and that's why I kind of just decided on aerospace engineering. I thought it was going to be a little bit more hands-on in the plane aspect,
Mm-hmm.
but I was, taking classes about fluid dynamics,
Yeah.
statics, and things that really I didn't have a huge passion for.
So you just wanted to get into the plane and start just taking off, like.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like one day I'm definitely going to take it upon myself to get my pilot's license, and you never know. Maybe I'll go buy myself a Cessna or something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, once after that third or fourth contract, it'd be just
Yeah.
making get yourself any kind of plane you want.
Yep. Exactly.
So how at UNC, or sorry, how big was the rivalry at with UNC? Because I know on the basketball side, it's big. Like, was
Yeah.
that also there with the baseball side too, or no?
Pretty much. Yeah. We both have pretty strong, baseball
Mm-hmm.
programs. So whenever we faced off, there's definitely some rivalries there. And that usually it was more created within the fan. Um, but either way, we had a great time competing with one another.
Did you ever have any like benches clearing or any of the,
No,
no, nothing? Okay.
no, no, no.
All right, just curious, just curious.
Yeah.
So your team was obviously pretty good there in college. You had 8 guys drafted the same year as you, which again, it's just incredible that you go from all these incredible places that you played for. So you probably had a really good team in college as well. Like that's incredible to have 8 guys going pro.
Yeah, yeah, we had a a very strong group of guys that led. We only made it to a regional all 3 years, but either way, we had a very strong group of guys, and we had a very talented team, and it was one that I'll definitely always remember.
What is like maybe one memory for like your playing in college that you kind of take hold on to now, like you'll always keep with you, like that's like my biggest moment in my college like career so far?
I think it was against Clemson. My family came in to visit for that
Uh-huh.
series, and it was on Friday night. I hit a home run to dead center, a 3-run home run that kind of opened up the game in our favor.
Mm.
And then immediately after the next half inning, we were on defense, and it was the first pitch of the inning. There's a foul ball near the third base dugout, and I catch the ball and fall over into the dugout, and I actually made Sports Center top play. I was number one for that night, which was an awesome feat because that's something that I've always really wanted to be on
Mm-hmm.
as a kid growing up and watching that. So both of those events happened within, it felt like 3 or 4 minutes of each other. And it was a very special moment for my family and I.
You know, I can believe that. Wow, Sports Center. I'll never be on there, but that's incredible that you were able to make the number one on there. So obviously you play a couple different positions. You pitched, and now you're in the infield. Like, what is your favorite position to play? And like, obviously you're probably shortstop moving forward, but like, what is your
Yeah.
favorite position to play?
I think definitely shortstop. I feel like you're the quarterback
Mm-hmm.
out there. You can kind of guide traffic, let people know, where to be positioned, make sure that they're thinking ahead, along with, my mind. And, if this happens, go here. If there's a ball in between us, maybe I cut on this angle where you cut on this angle so we don't collide. Things like that. Just always talking with one another, making sure we're on the same page. It's something that I definitely take a lot of passion or a lot of uh, pride in, is being that quarterback figure
Mm-hmm.
on the baseball diamond.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So let's talk about your draft experience. Obviously, the Cardinals, again, like I said, they're a storied franchise, a lot of talent, a lot of history. You trained with guys like Molina, now obviously Albert Pujols. Like, we kind of touched on this, but just looking at like the draft day when you get drafted by them, like how was that experience?
Dream come true. There's really not too many words other than
Mm-hmm.
that. To be able to hear your name called and to understand that you're going to play at the next level,
Mm-hmm.
and someone has believed in you to give you that opportunity, it's a dream come true.
Yeah. Did you have like a draft party or what was that the draft day like?
It was just my immediate family. We went out to grab dinner. I remember going out to Siesta Key Beach when I was in Sarasota and kind of just going to the beach for sunset. But just spent it with my immediate family. Didn't do anything too crazy, but a lot of emotions and happiness that day.
So you weren't even like at watching the TV. Does your agent just call you when you're at the beach and it's like, hey, you're one of the
No,
Cardinals.
no. So we were actually listening to it on basically the internet. Just
Mm-hmm.
it was basically a phone call on the internet that was being streamed. So you got to hear a voice. You didn't necessarily get to like see anything. But either way, dream come true.
Yeah. Did you know that the Cardinals were interested in you? Because obviously you do like the
Yeah, yeah,
questionnaires and all that. But were you pretty
yeah.
confident that they were going to draft you?
100%. Yeah, they go through a screening process usually, and they for the most part they keep you informed as far as what's going on and things like that.
Were there any other teams that were as heavily interested as the Cardinals, or were you just pretty confident that the Cardinals were going to get you?
Yeah, there are a handful of others, and I'm just happy that everything worked out,
Mm-hmm.
to be part of such a rich history
Yeah.
and tradition of a team like the Cardinals.
So you're the one that got away for all these other teams watching you play. You're going to make your major league debut, knock on wood, or not knock on wood, but fingers crossed this season.
Yeah.
You're the one that got away from those teams. um,
Hopefully that's the way that we can look at it.
a-
Maybe later
absolutely.
this year.
Absolutely. So you go from playing the ACC, where the travel's nice, facilities are nice, to the minors in the New York Penn League. How was that adjustment going from ACC to the now Life in the Minors?
It honestly was a pretty smooth transition for
Okay.
me, which I'm very lucky for. NC State had all the necessary facilities to train,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like in the earlier stages of my pro career, especially in rookie ball, they kind of think of the same mindset. Does each team have the necessary
Mm-hmm.
facilities to be able to train and practice? And for the most part, every team can say yes to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's how NC State was. Our facilities were very clean and nice, but they weren't anything crazy like an LSU or an Ole Miss or even like maybe Texas. So we had what we needed. Everything was within the stadium for the most part. Um, but then going to pro ball, I felt like it was kind of the same, and I was very fortunate to go and spend some time with the State College Spikes, which is in State College, Pennsylvania, right there with Penn State, and it just felt like I was in college still. So I was very fortunate to have a smooth transition.
Good. Awesome. So this podcast is sponsored by Durham. They're a blockchain based business looking to sponsor as many and support as many minor leaguers as they can. And I love talking to minor leaguers and hear the stories, because sometimes the minors is almost like a mystery, right? We see the big leagues, we see the big league players. And as fans, we sometimes forget about the struggles that these players went through for years to make it to that level that we can watch them like every day on our TVs. And sometimes you hear the stories. So I like to raise awareness in some of those struggles. Like, what did, obviously you said you had a smooth transition, but do you have any interesting like minor league stories where you can just see the grind, the struggle that maybe you or maybe you witness others going through?
Yeah, I mean, I've had not too many experiences, but there have been some where the bus breaks down, the hotel didn't have our reservation to check in at 2 o'clock in the morning. They thought it was going to be 2 o'clock in the afternoon,
Oh no.
so we had to scramble at 4 o'clock in the morning trying to find a place to sleep. Um, Things like that, they happen, unfortunately, with so much travel that we do. It's bound to happen. A lot of just human errors, unfortunately, with reservations and whatnot. But you can control. I always view it as I'd much rather go through some of this stuff that seems inconvenient
Mm-hmm.
rather than have a desk job. And that's my mentality on it. I love playing baseball, and that's just part of it. It's part of the journey, part of the process of going through the tough times to be able to shine on the bigger stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like that travel, that's and lodging. That's the big thing that I hear. I know one guy told me that they went to the motel and like the lights, the electricity literally didn't work, so they were
Yeah,
walking around with their phones as a flashlight, trying to like play cards,
yeah, yeah,
chilling because they had no electricity and no light. One guy told me same thing. They didn't have the reservation, so they ended up sharing a whole team in 2 rooms.
wow.
Yeah, so you hear all these crazy stories. Like I said, that's why Durham is also doing what they can to sponsor as many as they can to kind of alleviate that. Is there a city that you travel to where you go there and you're wondering like, where am I? Like, I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Um, I'd say, hmm. I know a lot of people would say probably Beloit, but that's actually not a place that
Yeah.
I traveled to. There's a place. I forget the city, but it was in like upstate New York, in the New York Penn League, and it just was not a great city to be in. That was definitely one of those times where I was like, "Man, get me out of here!" And I actually played really, really well at that series, so maybe that's the mindset that I need to have a little bit more often.
It's funny you say Beloit, and like that's literally the first thing everyone always says. I
Hmm.
I just recorded with a guy in the Marlins organization. I said, you need to have in your Twitter bio like Beloit snapper survivor, because you survived playing in that stadium. Obviously
Yeah.
now they're the Sky Carbon. They have a beautiful stadium now, but yeah, that stadium is what I hear the most of. One guy actually told me that he went there and it like made him play better because it had nothing fancy, and he said it like brought him back to his roots of just playing like
Yeah.
in high school a game. Basically, he said it's kind of like how that was. Have you had any interesting interactions with fans? I've had guys tell me like they're in the outfield and they're just chirping at them, or kids asking them to sign foreheads, like just
Yeah.
random things. Because the minor leagues are they're like right on you, basically in these little stadiums. Like how's that been for you?
I haven't had too many experiences like that. I'm very fortunate where I feel like a good amount of the people that do kind of shout my name or are younger kids,
Mm-hmm.
probably following me from TikTok. I do TikTok videos,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. Um, they're all baseball related for the most part, but I try to give kids insight on what my life is like as a pro baseball player and give them some information and education on the game. So my typical, audience member on TikTok's maybe 10 to 15 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and they're pretty much aspiring to be in my shoes one day. So I'm lucky where I go to a city or even at home here in Memphis, and usually there's a group of maybe 5 kids that are yelling my name and are fans of mine, from TikTok.
What is the strangest thing someone has asked you to sign?
I've I haven't gotten really anything
Okay.
too crazy. I mean, it's more of the basic stuffs for
Yeah.
me. I haven't really seen anything or been asked to sign anything.
Do you ever get these guys who are just like, "Hey, sign my baseball card," and they got like 30 of them?
Yeah, that happens quite often. Yeah,
What
yeah.
do you sign them, or what do you how do you react to that?
Usually just one.
Yeah.
That's usually it. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So like I said, Durham, they sponsored this show. I love what they're doing, helping players. I actually like to tell as many people as I can. I actually just spoke to a baseball agent yesterday. He wants to get his guys in there. You obviously do work with them. If you know a baseball player out there who's maybe struggling and maybe hesitant to be sponsored by Durham, maybe because it's crypto or for whatever reason, like what would you say to them to kind of get them on board? Because I'm going to clip this and throw it on Twitter.
Well, I'd probably just start off by saying it's not a scam.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of people kind of just view anything crypto related. And what Duraminu is doing is really doing exactly what their mission is,
Hmm.
and it's helping minor leaguers across the nation with the tough, conditions that minor leaguers have to go through in the grind. It's more of just think of it as a sponsorship. Someone's helping you out. There have been multiple organizations that do something very similar, but Duraminu has the funding from the crypto world, which uh, what does that mean? It means that there's a lot of money in that scene. So we're able to actually help out a ton of players with a lot of money. I think right now we've probably given out over $180,000 to roughly, let's say, 180 players. Um, is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. Basically, around $1,000 a player in whatever needs they might need. Whether it's travel, whether it's groceries, rent, anything like that. That's what Duraminu is here for, and definitely ask questions with the people that have gone through the process. It's not hard at all, and it's fairly easy.
Awesome. And how did you get into the crypto world? Let's talk about that now, because you also are in NFTs and all that. Like, how did you get into the crypto world, and how did that lead you to create your own NFT?
Yeah, so take us back to basically 2017. I invested in Bitcoin on Coinbase. No one really knew what it was. I bought it when it was at like $12,000. It went up to like $18,000 or something like that, and I was like, "Wow, I just made a lot of money." And then it went down during like the pandemic in 2020. I actually decided to sell off because I was like, man, this is just too much,
Mm-hmm.
to keep track of. And I sold it for a loss. And it is what it is. Lesson learned. It wasn't any huge chunk of change where I felt terrible, with that loss. But fast forward to spring training of 2021, I started hearing more and more about NFTs. I started understanding that you can create art and basically get paid for it
Mm-hmm.
digitally. So I basically bought myself an iPad, started creating, and my first piece sold on March 26th of 2021 for about 15 or $1,600. So
Oh
my
wow.
eyes kind of lit up
Yeah.
when I saw that dollar amount, and then I just basically kept going. I kept going using those funds to reinvest into an Apple Pencil, or a newer iPad, a better program to be able
Hmm.
to create things on. And I started understanding a little bit more about business, a little bit more about marketing, and then throughout the course of the year, I basically saw that the board apes were starting to really flourish in only a few months. So I wanted to replicate that, create something that's never really been created
Hmm.
before, and that's a sports themed NFT. There really hadn't been any. When we released the Diamond Dogs, it was late October. There was basically no sport themed NFTs out there. So I'm pretty confident in claiming that Diamond Dawgs NFT was the very first NFT that was sports related, but also the very first NFT that was actually founded and the artwork was created by a current baseball player or athlete in general. Um, Unfortunately, in the NFT scene, you see a lot of celebrities, athletes, and influencers just buy, an artist. Basically, they just pay for an artist to do it. They put their name on it, and they're not really involved.
Hmm.
And I'm very confident in saying that I'm probably the most active athlete founder in the NFT scene, and I think that's um, a lot of people have taken notice with that.
So you're more hands on, right? So you're actually creating every individual piece that you're selling.
Yeah, yep.
So where did I mean I've heard this story before, like on other interviews, but just kind of brief summary, like where did the idea of the Diamond Dogs come from, and
Yeah.
where do you want to see it go next?
Yeah, so the idea came when I was actually in Nashville. I was going through a rough time and I looked at my iPad and was kind of just brainstorming ideas on how can I create a baseball themed board ape,
Hmm.
basically. And I came to the realization that the Diamond Dogs was a perfect fit. I love dogs in general, but the saying that still lives on in our clubhouse and in our dugout during games is something that you'll hear. We yell out "Swingit Dog," and it's basically a way to show appreciation to someone that swings and really, really hard and takes a hack whenever they're swinging. So it's kind of turned into our team motto, and that started last year. So um, when I was looking at a blank canvas, I heard the phrase "Swing it, dog," but I only really heard the word "dog." So that was going to be the base model or animal. Um, and then, of course, I wanted to make it baseball inspired. And the name came and fit perfectly. Diamond Dogs, the baseball diamond. Uh, Dog, of course, from the name that uh, our team motto. And then, of course, the dual meaning of the word diamond. Having diamond hands in the crypto scene is something that we all wish to have, especially in the NFT world. So that's kind of the basis of where the project was coming from. We wanted to mesh the two communities of crypto NFT and the sporting community, especially in baseball. And I think so far we've done a great job of that.
Yeah, so you said swing it, dog, and I think the dog actually heard you because it was in the game yesterday in the
Yeah.
center field. So
Yeah.
that's probably why you said that's problem
Possibly.
solved,
Yeah.
case solved. It's a random dog roaming around, heard you say swing it, dog, jumped into the arms of the bullpen guys. Like now,
Yeah.
I feel like you and I just we could be detectives.
Yeah.
So where do you want to see this go now? Because obviously you're doing well. I actually have a,
Mhm.
Diamond Dog. It was actually
Yeah.
gifted to me by the guys at Durham. So like, where do you want this to move forward? And what is your
I'd
goal?
love it to be known as a very a baseball brand. Just like I was very fortunate to see a brand like Evo Shield start from basically nothing. They were hustling at some travel ball tournaments when I was around 12 years old, and I've been able to see them really, really grow and prosper in the NF or in the baseball scene for what they've been able to provide their customers. I see it no different with the Diamond Dogs. I want to be able to provide for our customers in a way that, you know, year after year, we're able to see the growth of the company, of the brand, of the vision. And hopefully, over time, we're going to be able to set new standards for the game of baseball, grow the game of baseball in an organic way. And that way we can start seeing positive impact for the game and the community around the sport that I love.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that because I mean I think baseball is one of those sports that really just lacks when it comes to players promoting their own brand, for promoting the baseball brand in general, right? Because I'm a baseball like diehard, right? I follow the game since I was a kid. Puerto Rican, like baseball's huge, and like for my dad and his family. So just seeing people out there and play baseball players specifically out there making the game fun, and kind of showing like younger generation like this is something to get interested in, because like I said, baseball, I feel like they do a poor job when it comes to like marketing or supporting, or like just really just compared to like football. Like you can see any football player and you know who they are, right? You can see a baseball player, you may not even know they play baseball.
Yep.
So I love what you're doing. The Baseball Boys and other guys, some podcasts. I know a few minor leaguers starting their own podcasts, and like the Compound, they've done a great job, kind of showing like the fun side of baseball. So that's incredible what you're doing.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so let's talk about this as you as a baseball player. Like, are you a superstitious player? Like, what are some of your like routines heading into like every game that you play?
Yeah, there's too many to count or really to list, but I'd say I'm definitely a very superstitious guy where I like to do the same thing, but also I have to tell myself if I'm doing the same thing every single day and I'm expecting different results, that's literally the definition of someone who's crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
this year I'm going to kind of relax a little bit more on the superstitions and um, try, try something else and see if that can result in maybe more of a positive impact I can bring my team and with my performance.
Mm-hmm. So what about walk-up songs then? Like, how do you change your walk-up song if you're struggling? Like, what goes into the
Sometimes, yeah,
decision
yeah,
of,
yeah.
of picking one out? Like, what is your
Usually,
song now?
walk-up songs are just whatever I'm vibing with at the
Okay.
time. Usually, I'll keep them for maybe a month or two, depending, of course, on how I'm playing. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm swinging it good, I'm probably going to keep that walk-up song. But for the most part, I like just staying with the times. If something is, if there's a certain song that's really hot and a lot of people are liking, I kind of cater towards the fans just as much as I would cater to myself to make sure it's a song that people can bob their head
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
or they can start dancing in their seat. Either way, it's something that I want people to get excited when I come up to the plate.
Yeah. So do you have like a song that's like your go-to song when you're like in a slump and you're like, man, I need my old faithful to like.
Not really. No, I haven't repeated a song in a while
Okay.
because I feel like it's just I like keeping things different and
Sure.
shaking things up. So that's where my mind's at usually.
Okay. So when you're not playing baseball, what do you do for fun? Like, are you a golfer? Obviously, you're like I said, you're big into the art, but like, what
Yeah.
else do you do?
I'd say majority of my free time I like doing research, and it might sound really really boring, but I'm learning to love the grind of the business side of things, marketing, finding answers, finding solutions, and of course putting my head down and making sure that my time is being used in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to stay away from things like video games, Netflix, and whatnot. I try to spend just about every second that I can when I'm awake doing something productive. Of course, it's hard to do that
Mm-hmm.
24/7. So I actually am one of those types of people that needs to learn how to turn off my brain
Sure.
more and more because sometimes it's challenging for me.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that. Like you're trying to grow your brand. You're trying to be a better baseball player. There's so many things you're focused on. Like it takes a lot of your effort, and it probably takes
Mhm.
effort to be like, look, I have to just take some time and just like
Yeah,
relax and like
exactly.
turn
Yeah.
off the brain and just kind of focus on like nothing.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a challenging thing for me. So I'm working on that. I think it's important for all of us to work on each other, to help each other, I
Mm-hmm.
should say. That's one thing that I've included into the Diamond Dogs like Discord channel
Mm-hmm.
is a mental health awareness channel where people can freely speak their mind on it, any challenges that they're going through or any progress pictures of maybe they're working out a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more. They want to show how many steps that they took today, things like that. We really want to encourage a healthy environment where everyone's able to really help each other out, bettering themselves and becoming the best versions of themselves.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to buy a Diamond Dog, like how's that process?
It's really not too hard once you get the hang of it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'd say head over to the link in my bio on Instagram or on Twitter or on TikTok, and at the very very top of it, it'll be a link to a YouTube video that I created, and I'll literally hold your hand through the entire process, explain the very very first and fundamental things that you need to do, to basically fund
Hmm.
your Coinbase account, how to link that to your MetaMask and whatnot. And of course, if you have any problems, feel free to DM me. I feel like I'm pretty approachable with things like
Hmm.
this. So definitely, use me as a resource.
Awesome. Well, hey, I'm glad you came on the podcast. I thank you for taking your time. I know you're busy. Season just started.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we see you in the majors soon. I live in Wisconsin, so like the Brewers are my National League team that I cheer for. You're a Cardinal soon,
Mhm.
so I hope you do well as an individual.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I do hope if you can make your debut in against the Cubs or against the Brewers, so that I can be there and see it.
Yeah.
Like
That'd be
if we
awesome.
can kind of work that out a little bit. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
no, I do wish you all the success this season. Again, I thank you for coming on. We'll keep in contact. I'll have to have you come back on at some point. But I do appreciate what you're doing, man.
All right. Thank you. And I appreciate you for, creating this podcast and
Yeah,
of course, spreading the knowledge of so many great people. And,
yeah,
it's going to be awesome to see you grow as well.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. I feel like I'm in the minors of the podcast world.
We all have to start somewhere.
Yeah,
One of my favorite sayings is we all start with 0 followers.
yeah.
So I know that's the almost social currency nowadays is how many followers
Mm-hmm.
does everyone have? Well, guess what? We all start from zero. It's all about how you put yourself out there,
Sure.
how consistent you are, and then you'll be able to see those numbers grow. Um, Maybe day after day, maybe month after month, but either way, consistently will show, um, you know, how well you're growing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And like I said, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
You got it. Appreciate it.